Good morning. It's Graham Moore. Always good to be with you wherever you are in the world. For me, it's good morning, but for others, for me, it's good afternoon. For you, it's good morning. In Dubai, it's Phoebe. Hi, Phoebe. How are you doing?
Yeah, all well. Greetings to all. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mohammed Shukri in Bahrain. How are you this morning?
It's a beautiful morning, and it's beautiful to be with you, Graham and Phoebe.
Hey, always good to be together, because we're going to have, hopefully, a conversation where we learn and others learn with us. Is that a reasonable statement? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Phoebe, I'm going to say this today. Why don't you invite us to talk about a topic of your choice? What do you think we should talk about today?
One thing which immediately came to my mind is, I being in the entrepreneurial space and how to lead in uncertain times. So that is something which I like to have a discussion with our audience today, sharing it with all of you.
So, yeah, really good. So because we do have uncertain times, and sometimes they are uncertain and unexpected, don't they? So shall we call this leading in uncertain times?
Yeah, let us call that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Phoebe, give us an introduction.
Yeah, so as leaders, as we, leadership is everyone's business, and in our life as well as in our organizational situations, sometimes we come across situations which are not known or unable to rely or not being defined. That is what I call uncertain. So how can, as individuals and people working in organizations, we be prepared and lead the team as well as yourself? So that's the context from where I am coming from when that topic is shared. Over to you.
Yeah. Mohammed, what's your reaction to what he said so far?
I believe, when you started with entrepreneurial stage, you have to do things in a way that you don't rely on the past, because the past has created a momentum and a pattern. This pattern takes us into a sort of, anonymous, not anonymous, what's the word? Anonymy? No, that's not the word. Sorry. Being mono, working mono. And then suddenly things change, and you're unaware which rule in the past you can use in the present, because none of them apply now. You have to create and invent ways and concepts and tactics. So of course, uncertainty is something that makes the leader really hugely challenged. And I think it's a good topic to address today.
Yeah. So let's just broadly outline some of the sort of factors that cause uncertainty, right? So one of the factors could be government policy. That could lead to uncertainty for our business. We could drill this down a little further and call it economic issues, which the organization doesn't have any control over. We could talk about changes within the organization, perhaps directed by the board or by the new CEO, for example, and this can lead to uncertainty. But of course, we had one about 3 years ago, big. It was called the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Immediately when this was recognized as being a big deal, and that meant that there was quarantine and all this sort of things, immediately there was uncertainty, wasn't there? And it was even,
yes,
I have a job, do I have a place to go to? And at a senior level, how am I going to manage the team? And so there was a vast, complex pattern of uncertainty where people had to come to terms with this in smaller ways and larger. And of course, that uncertainty continued for a while because of the changing nature and the uncertainty about how long the COVID situation would last. Is it going to be 6 weeks or is it going to be 3 years? That sort of thing. So there are a range of factors that can lead to uncertainty. So pick one or two of those and let's drill down and see how leaders should.
I'd like also to add
Sure.
the uncertainty caused by the introduction of technology to all aspects almost in our lives. I was with my wife the other day in the restaurant, and it was the second time in 2 weeks that there was no one to take our orders. I just have to, run the, QR code on the and just select the items and pay, and it should come. And I looked around. This restaurant, famous restaurant, has only 10% of the waiters we used to see before. Okay, that is an advancement in a way of delivering service, but it's also a challenge when it comes to leading teams, etc., etc. So, apply this on other aspects of our lives. Introducing a technology, especially AI, has created a lot of uncertainty.
AI, absolutely, and it's a significant contributor to uncertainty now, isn't it? And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether we are going to have a job or a company or whatever. So uncertainty. So of course there are other factors of uncertainty specific to certain companies and their industries, and the one that goes through my mind now is the rural industries, the farmers in whatever country they are in. There is uncertainty due to the weather, perhaps. So there are industry uncertainties that can arise, right? And so the leaders in those areas have got to know how to handle it, know what to do. So uncertainty is very much a part of the conditioning of when it can arise and will people buy. So what should leaders do to help with this uncertainty? Bibi, it was your statement now. Come on, give us the solution.
Yeah, uncertainty leads to be a change catalyst, for any. So I just want to frame, it acts as a catalyst, uncertainty. And one thing which I just want to reflect now, we are all, again, when you read the newspapers, the political, the elections happening in many parts of the world, there is going to be governmental changes, then that leads to policy changes. How are we ready to look into that? And one aspect which I ask all leaders to follow is be proactive in connecting with your team, not feel that you are alone in that leadership bubble or leadership hierarchy. Make sure you are taking your team together. What voices are there? There are different and diverse voices. What kind of, within that differences, what kind of unique solutions can we collect to navigate these uncertainties? And that is where, the leader should be more aware of connecting with the people within the team so that you get unique and informative ideas, which may be helping you to pivot in that uncertainty, to find new pathways in that uncertainty. So that is my first, connecting back to the people within the team, listening to the voices.
Yeah, absolutely. And being aware, leaders should be aware that when there is uncertainty, that the people who they are leading are going to feel uncertain, to use that word again. They're going to feel unsure. They might feel threatened. They might feel that they're going to lose their job or not be paid. All of these things can go through their mind. I'm going to suggest that there's one point that's really important. It's really central to what leaders do. And that is the relationship that they have with the people they are leading. And if they've got a really strong relationship in terms of what they've done and how they've performed in the past and the way that they've helped the company and the people in the organization grow, and they've got great results. And there is great trust with the people who are following in where that leader is taking us. And that trust also extends to the fact that the leader will say to the people around him, so guys, what ideas do you have? What do you think we should do? That he won't be just directive and say, this is what we're going to do. he will seek the input of other people because they might have better ideas than he or she has got. But because that relationship has been set up along the way, not, oh my gosh, we've got a crisis, what am I going to do now?
Yes.
What do I do? But when the relationship is there, that comes a lot easier. But your point is critical, Phoebe, and that is the communication that leader has with the team. So when they really believe he's a wonderful leader, we will go to the top of the mountain with him. And when something happens, of course, it's critical that he talks to them, not only to seek their input, but also to reassure them, to give them empathy, to give them a feeling that he understands their uncertainty and he's working through to get a better result for everybody. Mohammed.
Yeah, I like all that, especially, not being quiet about it and going out to the team, as Phoebe said, and also having a relationship, as you said, Graham, before, when things were looking stable, you should have built the relationship in that stage for times like these.
Yes.
And I would like to add one thing. Uncertainty is about what we don't know, which bothers us. But it doesn't mean that we don't know everything. There is definitely something we do know, okay? I am a big fascinated by crime scene series, TV series, and I always see at the beginning of the, let's just say, supposedly hypothetical murder, the senior detective comes and asks questions like this, and he said, "What do we know?" And the police and everyone says, "Okay, what we don't know if it's a suicide, we don't know if it's a murder, we don't have a body, etc." Right? And then he said, "Okay, but what do we know?"
Yes.
This question a leader must ask. Definitely, there are elements in any change or uncertainty that you do know. And leaders act on information and data that is available. You should, just because there are things you don't know, the uncertainty doesn't mean you cannot act and be proactive and take initiative on what is known and what is real, and we should run those. Definitely, when you move in the light more, there will be more light in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely correct. I really think that's just such a strong comment, but I want to take a little bit further and drill down a little bit in terms of people's reactions. When there is uncertainty, what often happens? They lose the connection with logic and sense and clearly processing information that's available to them. Because they are uncertain, the state of uncertainty impacts on the hard knowledge that they have. So the question that you said is so important. Well, what do you do? What do you know? Oh, well, we know that this is in place. Right. That's good, isn't it? Yeah, right. Good. Okay, what else do we know? Well, we know that we've got a whack load of money in the bank already. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's going to help us in these times of uncertainty. But so often, and I'm sure we can relate to this, when there is uncertainty, we may even have been, I'm sure, guilty of this as well, that we often lose our ability to consciously think things through effectively, to assess the situation the right way, because our emotions are impacting and we're feeling uncertain. Oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. The lights are still on, aren't they? The sun is still coming up in the morning. Yeah, okay. So good point. Very good point, Mohammed. That's really important. Phoebe, I see you smiling.
Yeah.
Always smiling.
I thank you. To add on what both of you mentioned is, as what do you know? And that is where the leader should be also vulnerable and bring that transparency that I don't know.
Yeah.
What is the next step we have to take? Guide me. That transparency with respect to the values which we preach in organizations and as an individual. What are my leadership values? And in that transparency is where transformational things happen in workplace. Even in personal life, I don't know what needs to be done, and I need help. And that vulnerable position actually helps, and that is also linked to the listening process in the organization. How as a leader, I am listening to my team. What voices am I hearing internally and externally?
I want to refine that a little bit, if I may, rather than the leader saying, I don't know. You know, the top 4 characteristics of admired leaders that we all in the Leadership Challenge talk about. One of those 4, which has always been there, is that we want our leader to be competent, right? So that's one of the top 4. Honest is the top one. Now, and we also want our leader to be forward-looking. This is what the surveys have said for all these years. The other one is we want our leader to be inspiring. So there's the 4. But I'm not sure that I want the leader to say, oh my gosh, I don't know, I have no clue. But I would like to think that the leader could say, you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I want your input as well. I don't have the magic bullet. So I want your input, and we can, with the contribution that you all make, with the wisdom that's collectively in this room, I reckon we're going to find a solution. And this is, of course, enabling others. This is encouraging them for their ideas. Because as I keep saying, you all know, just because you're the leader, it doesn't mean that you have the perfect answer for the problem or whatever it is. Not at all. This is about involving others and welcoming them. Mohammed.
Yeah, I'm just suddenly reminded of the several conversations I had with you, Graham, where I needed your guidance in some leadership, maybe trainings and consultancy. And there was one thing being repeated, which is very key. And that is when I used to ask you that people who want to take up leadership, all right, they are thinking, oh no, I already have enough on my mind. I have so much to do. And now you want me to learn another skill, which is leadership. And what was your answer always? The answer was this. If you think learning leadership is a cost, try not being a leader. And you will see the cost way higher. And now I am putting myself in the shoes of that leader we are talking about today, who is really uncertain. I'm guessing he is saying to himself, this is the time I need all the leadership skills I didn't learn, you know, because I can see the cost of not having a relationship, the cost of not being able to be trustworthy and honest and open and all that with my team. So this is what we have been saying since the beginning of this series. Take up leadership because it's gonna save you a lot. It's not the other way around, all right? And that is where I learned a lot from your constant concept. That's a constant concept in your conversation, Graham.
Let me be a little bit more, now that you brought this up, let's take this a little further and say, we say that leaders learn every day. And, you know, I often say to, well, what did I learn today that will enable me to become a better leader tomorrow? What did I learn today? And in this specific instance, when I, as a leader, am in a situation with my team and we have uncertainty, let's look at a specific, it could be the government policies, it could be another pandemic, it could be the weather that's washing away our factories, whatever, you know. So as a leader, even though I may not immediately have the solution from my team, what about if I say, so what have we learned so far? Now, you earlier, a couple of minutes ago, Mohammed, said, what do you know? You said, and that's a really strong point. What do you know? Even though we got this uncertainty, what do we know? But the other element of that I'm going to add on is, what have we learned? But it's only just happened. Yeah. What have you learned? I've learned that I panic easily. Okay. Is that a good thing? No, maybe not. Okay, good. What else have you learned? Well, we've learned that we should have been prepared for this because we could coming or similar. We were warned. We should have been prepared. Okay. So are we going to let this happen again? No. Next time we will be prepared. Okay, good. What else have you learned? I've learned that when we are facing a problem like this, that we need to openly communicate. Yeah, Okay. What else have you learned? Do you see? Give me some other examples. You now give me some examples of what I'm saying. Phoebe.
Yeah.
What have we learned? What sort of things could you say we have learned?
Yeah, so I think that's another important point which I just want to share. Desire to learn and ensure that your team is also learning together in that process.
Yeah.
Now, I remember again coming back to the pandemic situation, how we transfer our like, for example, I was doing my MSc program, which was having face-to-face modules, and it was in February of 2020, and in March, pandemic was announced. We had next sessions booked in March, then followed in May, and it was all supposed to happen in face-to-face. And that was a change phase in which the switching happening into the Zoom environment as an example, and how in that Zoom environment we were able to connect. And for example, we are still using the Zoom in which I am joining from UAE, you are from Australia, you are Mohammed, you are joining from Bahrain, and we are finding new ways of technology and are adopting it into our workplace and organizational life. And that switch happened when we get accustomed with that new technology, managing and navigating that technology effectively and efficiently. And that is where learning comes in.
Sure.
How prepared are not only the leader, but the team in order to utilize these technology available so that these uncertain, turbulent times can be managed, like a ship in a stormy weather.
Sure. And look, I'll come to Mohammed. If we are now in a moment of uncertainty, a time, a period, a few days, I don't mind, but there is uncertainty, and it's been happening for a few days. And if I say, what have you learned? The insight that I might hear could include, well, for 3 days, there's been confusion about what's going on. So I've learned that I need to communicate with my team a whole lot from now. Okay, good. It's not necessarily the resolution to the uncertainty, but it's what we've learned that will help us get through that uncertainty in the moment or in the time that we are feeling that uncertainty, right? So this is what we've learned so far. I don't know how long the process of uncertainty is going to be, but we can ameliorate, to use an English word, improve the situation by doing this because of what we've now learned in this time of uncertainty, okay? Rather than just necessarily jumping to possible solutions. Well, we should do this and this and this, but we've learned this at this stage. Let's discuss it. Okay, what can we do with that information to move us forward to a better outcome? Mohammed.
Beautiful. I can't thank you enough for opening this learning part, Graham, because let's be clear about this. Uncertainties don't just come once, all right? We are learning daily from small uncertainties that occur in our lives. Did you know that this car will come just in front of you, just like this, and you had to take an action? Did you know that this important meeting, was going to take place without any pre-schedule, but you have to attend it? Did you know that this little accident happened in the factory, was going to take place, and yet you managed and acted upon it? So I want to say that we in health and safety depend a lot on a pyramid by Heinrich, which says the following: there will be more leading indicators than incidents, and there will be more minor incidents than major incidents. And usually, almost always, any major uncertainty has sent a signal earlier, but you'd have not acted upon it, or you should act upon it. In fact, in health and safety, every accident is a learning for the future to be ready more. So don't tell me we're unready for the big uncertainty. You have every day dozens of uncertainties happen. You need to build that learning to be ready for the unknown. That is something I think we should add here.
That a little bit, we could be saying when that uncertainty has arisen, someone could say, I could see this coming. Which is what you would say, right? There were little indicators, and we might say in the vernacular, I could see it coming. Of course, it's not a major economic crash, but we can sometimes know that was going to happen. So therefore, the learning is we should act again, just as in the health and safety area, act to prevent this occurring in the future, and learn from this. That there are often, the little uncertainties that you talk about, it could be that the client has got your company's got a major pitch to put to your client for $1 million deal, and it's got to be delivered in 2 days, and 4 of your key staff who are bringing this together suddenly fall down with a mystery virus and they're hospitalized or whatever. Oh my gosh, the final proposal has got to go to the client in 2 days, and these people are taken out of the, oh my God, what are we going to do? So there is that, sometimes that sort of uncertainty, which we got to work our way through. And so much of this is about planning, about being aware, about looking for alternatives as well.
But also getting used to uncertainties. Sorry, Phoebe. It is a habit. You have to develop a habit of getting used to uncertainties. Yes, Phoebe, that's all I wanted to add. Go ahead, Phoebe.
Correct. And of course, when you get used to it, and I'll come back to you, Phoebe, in a moment, when we get used to it, it's not a complacency that we have. Sometimes we're used to something, we can become complacent. But if in fact, as a leader who's aware of, these are the signs, this is what happened before, it happened 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago, and this is how we got out of it, this is what's the part of the way forward. Phoebe.
Yeah, so I just want to bring that again. It all ties to the culture which we create as leaders in our workplace, as the communication process, what kind of communication I'm doing. So that is one. Then how my conviction is coming out in that process with the team. And another aspect is related to the calmness. How can I maintain calm in that uncertain weather and bring that communication with clarity so that we have the team. And what I have seen in my experience is in terms of uncertainty, there are brilliant new ideas emerging in front of our eyes. One example itself is the COVID. How brilliant new ideas emerged in that 1 year space or 2 year space during the pandemic, and how that has actually brought a new shift in the way in which we are working. One example is, in the past, people thought, okay, no one can work from home. Now work from home has become a reality. So for example, I was looking into GitHub, a company which have almost 2,000 employees spread all across the world. They are fully remote workplace.
Yeah.
And these are interesting shifts, but are we seeing that shifts as leaders? Or are we sticking to our old paradigm? So this is something which leaders should be opening their eyes to. One is on talent attraction, talent retention.
But also, from what you're saying, one of the things that's going through my mind is when there is this uncertainty, which we know will happen, and it'll happen again, what organizations must be doing, what leaders must be doing, is building a sense of resilience in the team. We will bounce back. Whatever the adversity, whatever the issue, we will bounce back and we'll get through this. And another point about this I'm going to suggest, and we should then wrap up, I think, is this. 2 of my favorite words are what if. What if? What if this happened? What if that happened? And, here's a scenario. Let's just say that the leader decides to take the team away for a weekend of reflection and I hate the term team building in this context, but it gets down to that. And then says, okay, what if this crisis occurred? What if this problem arose? What if in other words, preparing them, as you just said, new ideas being sought and encouraged, but actively in creating scenarios of saying, what if this happened? What would we do? And this is developing a culture, which you mentioned earlier, of being prepared for uncertainty. What if this happened? What would we do? Mohammed, looking very serious. He's not uncertain. He is very certain.
No, really, you guys make this topic both dynamic and eye-opening. So I'm going deep into thinking that how much leadership challenge has so much contribution to not only normal situations, but abnormal situations. Like, especially when you highlighted forward-looking, which is a key of the studies of the leadership challenge. So, and all the 5 practices, of course, you know, from model the way, etc. So I feel more appreciative of this research and this book and this learning and this workshop and this and this idea of the leadership challenge that can actually be present in every aspect of leadership. And today it was uncertainty. That's how appreciative I am.
Wow. Wow. I keep saying it's not hard. I'm getting bored saying all that. It's not hard. How hard is it to build relationships? Phoebe.
Yeah, as Mohammed mentioned, you know, I just want to stick the simple one, model the way in acknowledging the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Model the way in signaling the change.
Yeah.
Model the way with regular check-ins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And model the way by being present, be human in that space.
Yeah.
And remember that we don't live in future, we live in the here and now all the time. As leaders, prepare your team in the here and now.
For the future.
For the future.
And we could spend another half hour or half a day talking about the 5 practices and their direct relevance to this very topic. We've just skirted it, haven't we? Gentlemen, I am going to say thank you once again for your valuable time and your wisdom and our discussion, which I hope has helped us, but I hope that people who join us on this journey. And once again, we're going to be back next week as we are. We want to have people thinking about better leadership and how they can become better leaders. The world needs better leaders. And if we as a trio are changing the world one leader at a time, so be it. And I hope that we can make a difference, not just us, but the people who listen and watch us and the message that we've got and do something with it. Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm most grateful.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Have a great week.
See you.